Hello everybody, Adam Monk here again from FourFourTwo, back with another Friday show. Yeah, look, long story short, obviously I did the North London derby last week and how Tottenham could potentially beat Arsenal, and although it finished 3-2 and on paper you might think, oh, close game, in my opinion, it really wasn't. Arsenal just completely had Spurs' number, and even after Spurs got gifted a goal by 𝗕𝗫𝗧𝗏 to make it 3-1, there was no real momentum gathered by Tottenham. It just kind of petered out, Arsenal in control, and then Rice obviously kicked Ben Davies in the gooch. Can I say that? Gooch? Yeah, of course I can. He played for Sunderland. So yeah, that was a big hurdle for Arsenal and they got through that game. So basically, what I'm trying to say is I think that both City and Arsenal now will likely win all of their remaining games. Boring! So, I've had a little bit of an idea, guys, to mix things up. Now, as you will know, I'm a Manchester City fan, a top six club, of course. And if any other fans of top six clubs are watching, then you will also know that we only really care about our own teams. Definitely not the riffraff lingering at the bottom of the table who are just completely insignificant in every way. We care about our own club, financial prosperity, on the pitch prosperity, trophies, success. We have it absolutely great. And of course, as a Manchester City fan, my team has won 5 of the last 6 Premier League titles, so I don't really pay attention to the peasants at the bottom of the table, but I thought I'd have a little look. So after doing a bit of research to try and mix things up, I found this team lingering in 19th called a Burnley. Yeah, I'm just looking here. It says I've had 9 seasons in the Premier League, apparently. Don't really remember any of them, and they play at Turf Moor. I mean, look at that. I don't even have a fan park. It also says here that their top scorer is 𝗘𝗫𝗧𝗏𝗏𝗧𝗏, and they're managed by who? Right, that's it. I'm sold. I believe in miracles. Where you from? Right, so first of all, that was obviously all a joke. I know who Burnley are. That's why I'm employed by FourFourTwo. But to contextualise Burnley's recent form, of course, they had a shocking start to the season and were all but relegated with Sheffield United. But they've now lost 1 in the last 7, and that's been since 𝗈𝗊𝗍𝗓 has come back in net. So, as you will probably know, James Trafford signed from Manchester City for 19 million last summer, of course being the League One keeper of the season at Bolton Wanderers the season before, and there was question marks really before going into this season about whether a young lad will be able to take that leap into the Premier League. Obviously it's a big jump up 2 divisions, and the answer, to be honest, has kind of been no. And that's not to knock James Trafford at all. I think he's a good goalkeeper, but a young one. And I think, to be honest, Vincent Kompany was maybe slightly ignorant to keep him in the team for so long and throw him under the bus, so to speak, a little bit. Because he's been getting a little bit of abuse from sections of the fan base that I think is quite unjustified given his age. But eventually, well, recently, since March, Vincent Kompany has swallowed his pride and put 𝗈𝗊𝗍𝗓𝗏 back between the sticks, and then all of a sudden Burnley have stopped leaking goals and started picking up points. I say Muric has been great. He has, apart from this goal that he conceded against Brighton, which actually won Brighton's Goal of the Month award because it was the only goal that they scored in April. Now, for a relegation side, Burnley have actually only conceded 7 goals in their last 6 games, which, you know, like I just said, for a relegation side isn't too bad at all. And Lyle Foster has come back into the team now, and the goals are flowing a bit more from the likes of Brun Larsen and Amdouni as well, most recently at Old Trafford too. And of course, they scored 4 at Bramall Lane as well. And I know it's Sheffield United, but it's no mean feat to score 4 goals in the Premier League. And also, quick tangent as well, of course we know Nottingham Forest have got Sheffield United this weekend, which is a huge game, but history tells us that teams traditionally, once they are relegated and the pressure's off a bit, they start playing a bit better. And I think Chris Wilder's the type of guy who'll let his guys play for pride and will want them to put in a performance. And we've seen it before when Newcastle United were relegated and then beat Tottenham 5-1 on the final day. So it's not impossible, and I won't be surprised if Sheffield United do put in a shift against Nottingham Forest. So we shall see. Anyway, back to the video. So yeah, Burnley is starting to score a few goals, which means they pose a legitimate threat to Newcastle United. However, Burnley haven't won a home game since December. However, Newcastle United have only won 4 away games this season, so it really is battle of the mid. Yeah, it's the stoppable force versus the movable objects, and something really has to give in a game like this in the name of end of the season vibes. And if there is a player for Burnley who's brought the vibes this season, then it's definitely 19-year-old Wilson Odobert, who can play attacking midfield but also on the flanks, and recently has been playing right midfield for Burnley. And his stats are actually really, really impressive. He's actually in the top 1% in Europe in the top 5 leagues for progressive carries, and successful take-ons, and then he's in the top 2% in Europe for touches in the attacking penalty area. And for a team like Burnley, who obviously don't score as many goals as other sides, that is a very, very impressive statistic, especially for a 19-year-old lad as well. You can see here 4.18 progressive carries per 90, and then the top of that list is Bernardo Silva, and we know how elite he is at it on that right-hand flank, so really, really, really impressive. So if 𝗕𝗫𝗧𝗏 plays on the right-hand side against Newcastle, who's he going to be up against? Well, it's going to either be Lewis Hall or Dan Burn, or both of them if Dan Burn plays left centre-back. And if you look here, per 90 comparing the two, Lewis Hall averages 5 ground duels won per 90, whereas Dan Burn averages just 2.6. Well, the success rate for both is below 50%, so if you kind of average that out, and then you consider the fact that 𝗕𝗫𝗧𝗏 is in the top 1% in Europe for successful take-ons, this tells a bit of a story, potentially. So that's what Burnley are going to have to do in a game like this for me. I think, first and foremost, don't lose the game. Consider the fact that Newcastle have only won 4 away games this season, scoring very few goals away from home as well. Of course, they're very free scoring at home, and Isaac's a phenomenal player, but stay watertight at the back and then try and find 𝗕𝗫𝗧𝗏 in transition. Then use these one-on-one take-ons to either get into the penalty area, which 𝗕𝗫𝗧𝗏 is so good at, or just beat the man, get a cross in, through ball to Lyle Foster, that kind of thing. But of course, defence comes first in a game like this. Anyway, this video got me thinking, I wonder if there's a Burnley fan in the content game who knows more about Burnley Football Club than I do. And then I thought, oh yes, there is, 𝗍𝗧. And thankfully, he has joined us on today's show. Of course, you may well be aware of his YouTube channel, does some brilliant kind of mini football documentaries on there. So if you haven't seen them, then do check them out. I'm sure you probably have though, but I'll link his channel in the description. But he's joined me today on this video to talk all things Burnley, and particularly going into the relegation scrap and this Newcastle United game looming. So nonetheless, take it away, 𝗍𝗧.
It's been a really odd one because the hopes and expectations from not just Burnley fans, but realistically, everyone. Like, when you go back to the start of the season, back in August, and you saw the Premier League predictions and the pundit predictions and so on and so forth, there was very rarely any that put Burnley in the bottom 3. And, and there was reason why. Because, of course, there was the kind of aura and expectation of like Vincent Kompany and the links to Pep Guardiola and the style of football that we were playing. That was really good and really dominant in the Championship. And from just seeing the teams this season in the Championship, you can see how hard it really is. Especially for his first season in English football. It's really impressive to come out with 101 points, 3 losses all season, and at one stage, 10 wins in a row. It was a fantastic season under Vincent Kompany last season, and there was a lot of expectation. And realistically, it's a matter of 3 different things, but it's kind of all comes together as one, which is just simply inexperience. A lot changed very fast in terms of our squad last year to squad this year. There were some players that we couldn't bring back that was on loan, such as 𝗕𝗫𝗧𝗏𝗏, Nathan Tella, 𝗕𝗫𝗏𝗧𝗏𝗏 as well, which I think are all great players. And of course, we can see from Tella and Motson where they've gone off to how good they really are. And then there were players that was a key part of our team last season that has not been given a chance or just kind of weren't good enough. So the likes of 𝗕𝗫𝗏𝗏 is a really big talking point for Burnley because he was our goalkeeper last season. He won a goalkeeper of the season and wasn't given a chance at all. For the likes of James Trafford, who was at Bolton the year prior, was the League One goalkeeper of the season, but was thrown in instantly, and 𝗕𝗏𝗏 wasn't given a single chance until literally March. And conveniently, since he's been brought in, we've lost 1 in the last 7. So the expectation was really high, and it was a fact that we changed way too much too fast with an inexperienced team, with also an inexperienced manager with Kompany, and it's a simple fact of trying to learn from our mistakes and kind of get better and grow into the season. And it has happened. We have got better as the season's gone on. However, it's such a tough division. It's such a really competitive league in terms of, even when you look at teams that's in the lower half, you look at the players they have and you see Brentford are 6th deep, and they got like Ivan Toney and Bremo, and a really strong, good unit there. And even like Crystal Palace, which are 14th, usually, that's a wild guess, but they always are 14th or 13th anyway. And they got Eze and Elise and Gay and Anderson. They've got such great players. So yeah, we've had to learn as the season's gone on. We've got better with it, but it's a simple fact of inexperience and trying to learn from our mistakes. And we can be a bit naive at times in that, Sean.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you've started to answer a couple of my questions there that I had, one being about 𝗕𝗫𝗏𝗏𝗏, and you touched on the naivety there of Burnley. How much of that naivety do you think is down to James Trafford being a mainstay in the team this season, and how much of that naivety do you think is perhaps gone now 𝗕𝗫𝗏𝗏𝗏 has has come into the team, and, you know, the goals have stopped leaking so much, and the goals have started to flow at the other end of the pitch a bit more as well.
Munic is definitely a big one of them. Trafford, I think, was brought him at £19 million, and that was directly after his save that won England the under-21 Euros, and I think that helped a big part of it. And look, Trafford is a good keeper. He's also a young keeper as well, and I think it's really unfortunate because a lot of Burnley fans have kind of really gone off Trafford in terms of it's become not abusive, but really just a kind of animosity to him, and because he's kind of seen as the representation of how the season has gone in terms of a really young player that's inexperienced and kind of being given a chance that at many times didn't really deserve it. And it's a real shame that I think that he was not managed well enough in terms of this game time, and yeah, it's just a real shame because I do think he's a good shot stopper, and it's just a shame that Munic is just a better goalkeeper in my opinion and just wasn't given a chance. So Munic has come in, and it's a weird one on Munic because he's really good. However, he's completely mental, and you've seen that in the recent games that he's been man of the match in pretty much every games, even in games that he's literally put the ball in the back of his own net, i.e. Everton away, which was basically an own goal, and also Brighton at home. He was still the best player in our team in that game. He's got a screw loose, which is kind of a good thing because for me, in my opinion, every great goalkeeper has to be a bit mental or fully mental. I think that's you need that in back of your net to really give you some sort of confidence that they'll get their job done. And he's fantastic, and he's been a real key part in terms of our momentum shift in recent weeks. Another one for me is Josh Cullen, who was our player of the season last year and fans player of the season. He was really underrated in terms of our team, and he was a real cog and was the dictator of every single thing that was good about Burnley last season. He followed Vincent Kompany to 𝗕𝗫𝗓𝗍 in Belgium and was again a key part of his team. He knows his system inside and out. So it was really odd to see Cullen, who started the season, didn't play too great, but neither did anyone, was injured for a game. Then we had Brownhill and Berger for the entire season up until I think Brownhill got recorded away at Crystal Palace. Cullen got put back in. It wasn't a choice by Kompany. He kind of had no choice. Then realised, oh wait, Cullen's actually really good. And then suddenly Cullen and Berger is a much better suited partnership when the season's become a lot more stable and the team's become more stable. So Cullen and Munic are the main two that you hear. However, I think it's a fact of just learning from your mistakes and kind of knowing who works better together, cohesion, a bit of chemistry, and you see some better bits of chemistry across the team. Vitinho and Assignon's been a big part of it in a January window. 𝗕𝗫𝗓𝗍 was also brought in. That's a really good centre half on 𝗕𝗫𝗓𝗍, and yeah, it's just over the year trying to learn from your mistakes really. But Munic and Cullen are definitely the most obvious two to point at.
Yeah, definitely. Now, looking at the Newcastle game, which I'm covering in this video, of course, a big one at both ends of the table. Newcastle going for Europa League as well, but Burnley trying to stay up. Of course, Burnley haven't got the best home record, to say the least, this season, but Newcastle haven't got the best away record either. So what are you expecting from a game like this? What threats do you think Newcastle are going to pose, and how do Burnley nullify them?
Look, right, our form against Newcastle ain't the greatest in the best of times, but there's a bit of history here because we literally got relegated against Newcastle at home back in 21-22 in an absolute must-win game to stay up, and we lost that game when all we had to do was simply win and we stayed up. We lost 2-1, and Leeds of course went on to beat Brentford. So we've got some history there because they literally set us down before, not too long ago, and it kind of will happen again here because I can see a world where we lose to Newcastle. Forest has Sheffield United away, they can quite easily beat them, and then the 2 points becomes 5 with only 2 games left, and it's not looking good. This weekend is absolutely pivotal, right? And yeah, Newcastle, they've got a really poor away form. I think they've got the 4th worst away form in the league, so in terms of like the bottom, like the 16th best away form. It's really poor for them. I think 14 points gained. However, we've got the 2nd worst home form. I think actually the joint worst home record in the league. It's not looking good. And the thing is, I would actually have much more confidence if we were playing away at St James's Park. It's really odd in terms of how we played at home. I think because there's a bit more pressure, we have a bit more of a need to try and control the game. And I think because we've not got that much quality up top, when we're kind of being asked the question of trying to break a team down, when they're kind of sat back a bit more in their shell, which Newcastle absolutely are a great defensive outfit at the best of times anyway, I just think that could be an issue. So again, I want to be deluded. I really want to. However, I think Forest are a good team, and I think we could maybe get a draw, and I don't think that would be enough in terms of we're going to go for it. But Newcastle, again, they've still got something to fight for, so they're not going to let up easy too. So, yeah, we have to beat Newcastle. If Burnley stays up, we have to beat Newcastle, because I think the points between us and Forest for the final day, it has to be 2. It can't be 3 because of the goal difference. So realistically, we've got to try to narrow that gap. And if we do that, I ain't expecting us to beat Tottenham away either. So it's a must win for me.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, there's 3 teams down there. There's obviously Burnley, Forest, but Luton as well. So in terms of the wider relegation scrap, you know, what were you expecting from the 3 sides? Of course, I've not really mentioned Luton in this video at all, and we've not really touched on them yet. Are you concerned about them? Are you concerned about Nottingham Forest? How do you think the relegation scrap's going to pan out from here on in, considering all the games that the teams have got to play?
I was going to say, I think I'm more concerned about Luton right now. Mainly because they've got 2 home games that on paper, they're winnable enough. Everton at home and Fulham at home. West Ham away is a tough one, but 2 winnable home games is absolutely vital for them. And as a Burnley fan under Sean Dyche, as soon as we were confirmed safe, we were like tragic. I don't think we've won a single game after we actually were confirmed staying up for 4 or 5 seasons under Sean Dyche at Burnley. So I'm just a bit concerned about that for Friday night. However, look, it's just going to be a really tough one, and this weekend is going to be the telling point. If we can win a game, because I get the point of Sheffield United, and there is a bit of rivalry there, but maybe for some, even not even a mini rivalry, but maybe a pretty big one in terms of Forest and Sheffield United. It goes back since I think the 90s or 80s. I think something to do with the strikes also played a part of it, and also the little spat with the playoffs not too long ago. So they've got something to fight for, and absolutely teams, when they are officially down, they kind of play with a bit more freedom, some weight of the shoulders. So that's absolutely true as well. So for me, I'm more concerned about Luton v Everton really when I'm thinking about it. But yeah, for me, it's simply a case of try to end of the year with an absolute high, get some momentum, and no matter what league we're in next year, if it is a championship, then I would have a lot of confidence going into next season, because realistically, no Burnley fan would have had any chance of us being in this conversation of fighting for something this late on in the season.
Yes, now, final question. We ask this to every guest. You've got to put your money where your mouth is. I want a score prediction, Vizeh.
Can I do a head or heart one here? Or?
Do a heart. You're a fan. Go on.
I am a fan, yeah. But, you know, so many times at home that we've had these kind of games that they're missing players, and they keep saying to us, oh, you'll beat us. You know, West Ham at home, Palace at home, Bournemouth at home, all games that you have so many players injured, and we could beat these. Wolves at home, and we lost each one other than Wolves, and it was such a poor performance in terms of just getting the ball in the back of the net. It shouldn't be that hard. I mean, you're always prone to a mistake. And you know what? Yeah, I'm terrified of a certain man, Callum Wilson, because he always scores against us. And I saw the other game that he's back as well. So I've seen so many home performances that I cannot say that we're going to beat them. I can't. I mean, without me looking stupid and just be completely blind. I could be blind and say, yeah, 2-0 Burnley, we're going to do it, but there's no way we're not going to concede. And I don't think we score more than 2. I'm going to say 1-1 draw here if I'm going to be an absolute normal person. However, of course I'm not. It's going to be 2-1 Burnley, we're staying up the 𝗘𝗫𝗧𝗏. There you go.
Thank you very much, Vizeh. Yes, a positive outlook, really, even though Newcastle may well beat Burnley. The fact that they can go down and then be prepared to come straight back up and have stuck with Vincent Kompany, I think, are all very, very valid points. But given the fact that Vincent Kompany manages them, and I'm a Manchester City fan, I do want Burnley to stay up. And I think they can, should they be able to get the 3 points in this game against Newcastle and really put the pressure on Luton and Forest. But it's definitely a must-win. Anyway, guys, yes, don't forget to subscribe. It's been a lovely break not talking about a top 6 club for a change. And yeah, I fully expect City and Arsenal to win their games this weekend, by the way. But nonetheless, don't forget to subscribe, guys. I've been Adam Monk. Take care. I'll see you soon. Goodbye.